When Isaac Morrison told the 7-foot-tall alien warrior that he would not step back, everyone assumed he had a death wish. But standing your ground, when every instinct screams to run, is not about fearlessness. It is about choosing courage when fear is loudest. This is the story of Isaac Morrison, a 36-year-old ex-Marine running a small repair garage in New Anchorage, Alaska, in the year 2068. 35 years after first contact changed everything, humanity shares Earth with 47 alien species. Isaac lives quietly, fixing hybrid engines and avoiding trouble. But one February night, trouble found him anyway. What happened next would challenge everything he believed about strength, wholeness, and what it means to be brave when your body has already broken once. And it would teach an exiled alien warrior that the greatest courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. If you have ever felt like your scars define you, or wondered if broken things can become whole again, stay with me. This story gets deep before it gets better. Hit that like button and subscribe, because the ending will make every moment worth it. Isaac Morrison wiped the grease from his hands with a rag that had seen better days. The clock on the wall of Morrison's garage read 10:14 p.m., which meant he had been working for 13 hours straight. His prosthetic leg ached, the phantom pain reminding him that it was time to stop pretending he was 25 and invincible. The garage sat in the industrial district of New Anchorage, where the smell of salt water mixed with engine oil and the distant hum of cargo ships loading at the port. 35 years after humanity joined the Galactic Trade Alliance, this city had transformed from a disaster zone recovering from the Great Quake of 2054 into a bustling hub where humans and aliens conducted business side by side. Isaac locked the main door and stepped into the alley behind his shop. February in Alaska meant darkness came early and stayed late. The cold bit through his jacket, and his breath formed clouds in the frigid air. He was 3 steps from his truck when he heard it. A voice, low and terrified, speaking in broken English. "Please, I have family, please." Isaac froze. His Marine training kicked in before his civilian hesitation could stop him. He turned toward the sound and saw them at the far end of the alley, illuminated by a flickering streetlight. The first figure was small, maybe 4 feet tall, with purple skin and 4 arms pressed against a brick wall. One of the Quilix species, if Isaac remembered correctly. The creature was shaking. The second figure made Isaac's blood run cold. She stood at least 7.5 feet tall, her frame composed of dense muscle that made human bodybuilders look scrawny. Her skin was a dark gray blue that seemed to absorb the streetlight rather than reflect it. Silver dreadlocks fell past her shoulders, and her eyes glowed with a predatory gold that tracked every movement of her prey. She wore dark, tactical gear that did nothing to hide her physicality, and one massive hand was wrapped around the Quilix's throat, lifting him 6 inches off the ground. A Thalrin. Isaac had seen them before, usually from a distance. Warriors from a high-gravity world, built for violence, employed across the galaxy as enforcers and bounty hunters. This one was clearly working. "Final warning," the Thalrin woman said, her voice deep and sharp. "Tell me where Corvin is, or I break something important." The Quilix whimpered. "I do not know, I swear. I only delivered package." Isaac knew he should walk away. He had done his time playing hero. The explosion in Tangiers had taken his leg, his squad, and his illusions about saving the world. He was 36 years old with a failing business and a body held together with titanium and stubborn pride. Getting between a bounty hunter and her mark was suicide. But the Quilix looked terrified. Absolutely, completely terrified. And Isaac remembered what it felt like to be helpless while the world exploded around you. "Hey." His voice cracked through the alley before his brain could stop his mouth. "Let him go!" The Thalrin's head snapped toward him with frightening speed. Those golden eyes locked onto Isaac like targeting lasers. For 3 seconds, that felt like 3 hours. Nobody moved. Then she dropped the Quilix, who crumpled to the ground, gasping. She turned fully toward Isaac and took 3 deliberate steps forward. Each footfall sounded like a hammer on concrete. She stopped 2 feet away. Isaac had to tilt his head back to meet her eyes. Up close, she was even more terrifying. The scales on her skin caught the light, her muscles moved like steel cables under her gear, and she smelled like ozone and something metallic he could not place. "Human," she growled. Her breath warmed despite the cold air. "This is legal bounty work. You are interfering. Step back before you are injured." Every survival instinct Isaac possessed screamed at him to run. His heart hammered against his ribs. His prosthetic leg suddenly felt heavier, a reminder of what happened when he played hero. The PTSD that he worked so hard to manage whispered memories of fire and screaming and the moment everything went wrong. But he looked past her and saw the Quilix struggling to stand, saw the pure terror in those alien eyes, and he remembered the promise he made to himself in that hospital bed 7 years ago. Never again would he stand by while someone suffered, even if it killed him. "No," Isaac said quietly. "I am not stepping back." The Thalrin woman blinked. It was such a human gesture of surprise that it almost broke the tension. Then her eyes narrowed. "You should be afraid," she said, leaning closer. Her face was inches from his, those golden eyes searching for the fear she expected to find. "I could break you like a branch. Your bones would snap. So why do you not run?" Isaac's voice was steady despite his racing heart. "I did not say I am not afraid. I said I am not stepping back. There is a difference." For a moment, something flickered across her face. Confusion, maybe, or recognition. She tilted her head, studying him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "Explain," she demanded. "Being brave is not about not being scared," Isaac said. "It is about being scared and doing the right thing anyway. That guy is terrified. I know what it feels like to be helpless. So no, I am not moving." Behind her, the Quilix took advantage of the distraction. He scrambled to his feet and ran, his forearms pumping as he disappeared into the maze of alleys. The Thalrin woman's head snapped toward the sound, and for a second, Isaac thought she would chase him, or kill Isaac for costing her the bounty. Instead, she turned back to him, and her expression was unreadable. "You cost me a mark," she said flatly. "He was connected to a weapons smuggler I have been tracking for 3 weeks. Then you will find another lead," Isaac replied, surprised at his own audacity. "But you were about to hurt someone who was clearly just a scared courier. And you know this how? Because I have seen enough scared people to know the difference between guilty and terrified." She stared at him for a long moment. Then, inexplicably, she stepped back. "What is your name, human?" "Isaac Morrison. People call me Zach." "I am Vera Koth." She said her surname like it tasted bitter. "You are either very brave or very stupid, Zach Morrison." "Probably both," Isaac admitted. "Most days it is hard to tell the difference." Something that might have been a smile flickered at the corner of her mouth. It vanished before Isaac could be sure. "Your courage will get you killed one day," Vera said. Then she turned and walked away, her heavy footsteps fading into the night. Isaac stood alone in the alley, his heart still racing, his hands shaking with delayed adrenaline. He looked down at his prosthetic leg and laughed, a short, sharp sound with no humor in it. "Well," he muttered to himself, "at least this time I kept all my limbs." He drove home through the empty streets of New Anchorage, past buildings that mixed human and alien architecture, past the docks where ships from 36 worlds loaded and unloaded cargo. The city was beautiful in its strangeness, a testament to what humanity could become when it stopped being alone in the universe. Isaac's apartment was small, 1 bedroom above a noodle shop run by a friendly Karathi family. He climbed the stairs slowly, his prosthetic protesting every step, and collapsed onto his couch without bothering to turn on the lights. His phone buzzed. A message from Devon, his apprentice at the garage. "Boss, did you finish that Centauri converter? Client is asking." Isaac typed back. Done. We'll be ready tomorrow. He set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. His leg ached. His back hurt. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Vera Koth's golden eyes stared at him with that expression of confused recognition, like he had said something that mattered, and she could not figure out why. Courage is not the absence of fear, he whispered to the empty room, repeating the words his therapist had told him 1,000 times. It is action despite fear. He had believed those words once, before Tangiers, before the explosion, before Jessica left him because she could not love half a man. Now he just repeated them like a mantra and hoped someday they would feel true again. Isaac closed his eyes and tried not to dream about fire. 2 days passed before Vera Koth walked through the front door of Morrison's garage. Isaac was under a Martian transport truck, replacing a cracked hydraulic line when he heard Devon's voice rise about 3 octaves. Boss, you have a visitor. A really, really big visitor." Isaac rolled out from under the truck and sat up, wiping oil from his forehead. Vera stood just inside the doorway, her head nearly touching the ceiling. She wore the same tactical gear, and she carried something large and metallic under one arm. Devon, all 19 years old and 90 pounds of nervous energy, had backed himself against the wall. His eyes were the size of dinner plates. "It is okay, Devon," Isaac said, standing slowly. His prosthetic had been acting up all morning, and he tried not to limp as he walked toward her. "We have met." "You have met," Devon squeaked. "Boss, that is a Thalrin." They are. Terrifying, Vera offered helpfully. "Yes, that is generally the reaction." Isaac almost smiled. "What can I do for you, Vera?" She looked uncomfortable, which was a strange expression on someone so intimidating. "I need repairs. My exoskeleton armor." She held up the metallic object, which Isaac now recognized as a complex piece of combat gear. It was damaged during a retrieval 2 weeks ago. No one in this city will work on Thalrin equipment. "Because they are scared of you," Isaac said. "Yes." "And you came here because?" "Because you are apparently too stupid to be scared." She said it without malice, almost like a compliment. "I researched you. You work with hybrid technology, human and alien systems. You have the skills." Isaac took the armor and examined it. The damage was extensive. The power couplings fused, and the neural interface burned out. This was at least 40 hours of work, maybe more. He should say no. He had enough problems without adding a Thalrin bounty hunter to the mix. But he was already mentally cataloging the parts he would need. "I can fix it," he said, "but it will take time. And I have conditions." Vera's eyes narrowed. "What conditions? You tell me why you hesitated in that alley. You had me dead to rights, could have broken me in half for costing you that bounty. But you did not. Why?" For a long moment, she said nothing. Then quietly, "Because you reminded me of someone I have not thought about in a very long time." "Who?" "Myself. Before I learned that mercy is weakness." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implications Isaac did not fully understand. He nodded slowly. "Okay, I will fix your armor. Payment up front, half now and half on completion. And you answer my questions while I work." "Why would you want to talk to me?" "Because," Isaac said honestly, "I think we both know what it is like to be broken. And maybe that is worth understanding." Vera stared at him for a long moment. Then she reached into her gear and pulled out a credit chip. "Half now. I will return tomorrow." She left without another word, her footsteps echoing in the garage. Devon emerged from behind the wall, his face pale. "Boss, what just happened?" Isaac looked at the damaged armor in his hands and shook his head. "I think I just made a terrible decision. Or a brilliant one. Hard to tell which." Vera returned the next afternoon. Isaac had cleared his workbench and laid out the armor components, mapping the damage. She stood in the doorway, looking uncertain, which was such an odd expression on her that Isaac almost laughed. "Come in," he said. "I do not bite." "I do," Vera replied, but she entered anyway. She moved carefully, as if afraid she might accidentally break something. Given her size and strength, it was probably a legitimate concern. Isaac worked while she watched, his hands steady as he disconnected the fused couplings. They did not talk at first. The silence was comfortable in a strange way, broken only by the sound of tools and the distant traffic outside. Finally, Isaac spoke. "That Quillix you were interrogating. Did you find him?" "No, he vanished. I lost the contract." "Sorry." "Do not be. I have been thinking about what you said, about the difference between guilty and terrified." She paused. "You were right. He was just a courier, probably did not even know what he was carrying." Isaac glanced up at her. "So what will you do?" "Find another job. There is always another job." Her voice was flat, empty of emotion. "Do you enjoy it? The bounty hunting?" Vera was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than Isaac had heard before. "No, but it is what I am good at. What I was built for." "Built for? You mean because you are Thalrin?" "I mean because I was trained from childhood to fight, to dominate, to show no weakness." She looked at her hands, flexing her fingers. "On my world, physical strength is the highest virtue. Compassion is a flaw." Isaac set down his tools. "What happened?" "I was young, 34 years old by Thalrin count, which is about 12 in human years. There was a ritual, a coming-of-age trial. I was supposed to fight another youth and prove my strength." Her jaw tightened. "I won the fight. But when my opponent was defeated, I refused to deliver the killing blow. I showed mercy." "That sounds like a good thing." "Not on Thalrin. I was marked Koth. It means weak heart. I was exiled." Isaac felt something twist in his chest. "How old are you now?" 89, which is about 32 by your reckoning. I have spent 55 years proving I am not weak by being as violent as possible." "But you are not violent by nature," Isaac said quietly. "Are you?" Vera's golden eyes met his, and for the first time, he saw something vulnerable there. "No, but I learned to be. Because the alternative was admitting my culture was right, and I am fundamentally flawed." Isaac turned back to the armor, his hands working automatically while his mind raced. "I was a Marine," he said. "Did 2 tours. Good at it too. Then an IED went off in Tangiers during the containment conflict. I was 30 years old, lost my leg below the knee, lost 4 friends completely, spent 2 years in rehab learning to walk again. I noticed the prosthetic," Vera said. "You barely limp." "Years of practice and stubbornness." Isaac smiled bitterly. "My fiancée left me during recovery, Jessica. She said I was not the man she fell in love with anymore. Said my body was broken, so I must be broken too. She was wrong. Was she? Some days I'm not sure. I wake up, and the first thing I feel is the absence of my leg. And then I remember that 4 people died while I got to live. And I wonder if she was right. Maybe I am just half a man limping through life pretending to be whole." Vera stood and walked to the workbench. She moved slowly, carefully, until she was standing next to him. Up close, she was even more imposing. But Isaac found he was not afraid anymore. "You stood your ground against me," she said softly. "A warrior species designed for combat. You had 1 leg and no weapons, and you did not run. That is not half a man, Isaac Morrison. That is someone whole choosing to act despite their fear." Isaac looked up at her, and something in his chest felt lighter. "You showed mercy to your opponent when your entire culture told you it was weakness. That is not a weak heart, Vera Koth. That is a strong one refusing to be cruel." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The garage was quiet, except for the hum of traffic outside and the distant sound of the ocean. Then Vera did something unexpected. She reached out with one massive hand and placed it carefully on Isaac's shoulder. The gesture was so gentle, so controlled, that it almost broke him. "Maybe we are both broken," she said, "but maybe broken things can still be valuable." Isaac smiled, a real smile this time. "Yeah, maybe they can." Vera visited the garage every day after that. Officially, she was checking on the progress of her armor repairs. In reality, Isaac suspected she just wanted somewhere to be where she did not have to perform. They talked while he worked, about their pasts, their regrets, the weight of expectations neither of them could meet. Vera told him about Thalran culture, the brutal beauty of her homeworld, the way she still dreamed sometimes about the opponents she spared and wondered if they survived. Isaac told her about Tangiers, about the sound the IED made before it exploded, about waking up in a hospital bed and knowing immediately that something was gone. About Jessica's last words before she walked out. "I cannot love someone who is less than they were." "She did not deserve you," Vera said one afternoon, her voice sharp with anger. "Maybe, but she was not entirely wrong either. I am less than I was." "No, you are different. That is not the same as less." Devon started coming around more often during Vera's visits. At first he was terrified, but curiosity eventually won. He asked her questions about alien technology, about her homeworld, about what it was like to be that strong. Vera answered patiently, and Isaac saw something soften in her when she talked to the kid. One evening, after Devon left, Vera looked at Isaac and asked, "Do you have coffee? Real coffee, not that synthetic garbage." "I have coffee, but I have to warn you, human coffee is pretty strong. I survived 55 years as an exile. I think I can handle coffee." Isaac laughed and went to the small break room in the back of the garage. He returned with 2 mugs of black coffee and handed one to Vera. She took a sip, and her face went through several expressions in rapid succession. "This is fuel," she said. "This is Monday morning," Isaac corrected. "It tastes like industrial solvent." "Yeah, but it works." Vera took another sip, thoughtful. "I think I like it." They sat together in the garage as the sun set over New Anchorage, turning the sky orange and purple. The city came alive with lights, human and alien architecture blending in ways that still amazed Isaac even after 3 decades of integration. "Can I ask you something personal?" Vera said. "Sure." "Do you ever feel whole, even for a moment?" Isaac thought about it, really thought about it. "Sometimes, when I am working and my hands know what to do without thinking, when I help someone and see them smile. Those moments, I forget about what I lost. I just exist." He paused. "What about you?" Vera looked at her coffee, her golden eyes distant. "Never. I am always performing, always proving I am not weak. Always hiding the part of me that showed mercy 55 years ago because I know it is still there, waiting to make me fail again." "Maybe it is not a failure," Isaac said quietly. "Maybe it is the best part of you, and you have been punishing yourself for being good." Vera's hand trembled, and coffee sloshed in her mug. She set it down carefully, like she was afraid she might crush it. "I do not know how to be good. I only know how to be strong." "Strength without compassion is just violence," Isaac said. "But compassion that chooses to be gentle even when you could destroy something? That is real strength. That is terrifying." Vera looked at him and her eyes were bright with something that might have been tears. "No one has ever said that to me before." "Then people have been lying to you your whole life." She laughed, a short, sharp sound that held no humor. "Maybe they have." The armor repairs took 2 weeks. Isaac could have finished sooner, but he found himself working slowly, taking his time with each component. Vera kept visiting, ostensibly to check on progress, but they both knew the real reason. They were lonely. Both of them. Broken in different ways, but broken nonetheless. And somehow, in that broken space, they found something neither of them expected: understanding. On the 14th day, Isaac installed the final component and ran a diagnostic. The armor powered up perfectly, its neural interface glowing with soft blue light. "It is done," he said, and the words felt heavy. Vera picked up the armor, testing its weight. "You did excellent work. It is what I do." She stood there holding the armor, and neither of them moved to complete the transaction. Finally, Vera spoke. "I received a new contract today, a protection job, not a hunt. A merchant convoy traveling to the southern settlements. It pays well." "That sounds good." "Yes, but I find myself not wanting to take it." "Why not?" Vera looked at him directly, and her eyes were vulnerable in a way that made Isaac's breath catch. "Because it means leaving New Anchorage, and I have found something here worth staying for." Isaac's heart hammered in his chest. "What is that?" "Someone who sees me as more than a weapon. Someone who made me question whether I have been punishing myself for being compassionate instead of cruel." She paused. "Someone I think I could care about, if I allowed myself." The garage was silent, except for the sound of their breathing. Isaac stood, his prosthetic leg protesting slightly, and walked toward her. Even standing, he barely came up to her chest, but he looked up and met her eyes. "I have not let anyone close in 7 years," he said quietly. "Not since Jessica left. I told myself it was because I was broken. But maybe I was just scared of being hurt again." "And now?" Vera asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Now I am still scared. But I think you are worth the risk." Vera set down the armor very carefully. Then, with a gentleness that contradicted everything about her size and strength, she reached out and touched Isaac's face. Her hand was warm, and she held him like he was something precious and fragile. "I do not know how to do this," she admitted. "I have never touched someone without hurting them. I am afraid I will forget how fragile you are." "Then do not forget," Isaac said. "Be gentle on purpose. That is braver than any fight you have ever won." Vera leaned down slowly, giving Isaac every chance to pull away. He did not. When her lips met his, it was soft and careful and utterly terrifying in its tenderness. When they finally pulled apart, Vera was crying. Golden tears tracked down her face, and she looked at Isaac with wonder. "I have not cried in 50 years, she whispered. "I forgot I could." Isaac reached up and wiped away her tears with his thumb. "Then maybe we are both remembering how to be whole." They stood together in the garage, surrounded by tools and machines and the smell of oil and metal. Two broken people learning that wholeness did not mean being perfect. It meant accepting all the parts, broken and intact, and choosing to live fully anyway. Outside, New Anchorage continued its life, humans and aliens building a world together. And inside Morrison's garage, two souls found something neither of them had been looking for: hope. The next 3 weeks were the best Isaac had experienced in 7 years. Vera took the protection contract but arranged her schedule to be in New Anchorage every few days. When she was in town, she stayed in a small apartment above the garage that Isaac had been using for storage. They fell into an easy rhythm. Isaac worked during the day while Vera handled her contracts. Evenings, they shared meals at the noodle shop below Isaac's apartment, or walked along the docks watching cargo ships from distant worlds come and go. Devon became less terrified of Vera and more fascinated. He asked her endless questions about combat techniques, alien technology, and what life was like on other worlds. Vera answered with surprising patience, and Isaac noticed she smiled more when the kid was around. One afternoon, Devon was helping Isaac install a plasma converter when Vera arrived early from a job. She had a cut above her eye, and her tactical gear was scorched. "What happened?" Isaac asked, concern immediate. "Minor altercation. The convoy I was protecting got ambushed by raiders. They expected an easy target." She smiled grimly. "They were incorrect." Devon's eyes went wide. Did you fight them all? 7 of them. They had energy weapons and a transport. I had experience in gravity manipulation. She sat on a workbench, which creaked alarmingly under her weight. It was over in 4 minutes. Did you kill any of them? Devon asked, then immediately looked like he regretted the question. But Vera did not look offended. She considered the question seriously. No, I incapacitated them and called local security. 6 months ago, I would have killed them without hesitation. But someone recently taught me that strength does not require cruelty. She looked at Isaac when she said it, and something warm bloomed in his chest. That night, after Devon left, Isaac cleaned the cut above Vera's eye. She sat very still while he worked, her massive frame somehow made vulnerable by the simple act of accepting care. Does it hurt? Isaac asked. No. Thalrin pain tolerance is significantly higher than humans. This barely registers. But you let me care for it anyway, because you want to, and because it feels good to be cared for. She looked at him, golden eyes soft. I have spent decades avoiding vulnerability. But with you, I do not want to. Isaac finished applying the medical foam and stepped back. Vera caught his hand before he could move away, holding it gently in her much larger palm. I need to tell you something, she said, and her voice was tight. I received a message today from the Thalrin Enclave. Isaac felt his stomach drop. What kind of message? They have been monitoring my activities. Apparently, word has spread that I have been taking protection contracts instead of hunt and kill jobs. That I have been showing restraint. She laughed bitterly. They have declared me Kothva, double exiled, banned not just from Thalrin but from any Thalrin community in the galaxy. Because you stopped killing people unnecessarily. Because I am proving their worst fear, that compassion does not make you weak, that mercy can coexist with strength. She looked at their joined hands. I should be devastated. My species has rejected me twice, but all I feel is relief. Like I finally dropped a weight I have been carrying since I was a child. Isaac squeezed her hand. Does this change your work? Yes. I can no longer take contracts through Thalrin networks. But there are other networks. Other ways to make a living that do not require becoming a monster. She paused. If I stay in New Anchorage, would that be acceptable? Acceptable? Vera, I would like nothing more. She pulled him close, careful of her strength, and rested her forehead against his. They stayed like that for a long time, breathing in sync, finding peace in each other's presence. But peace never lasts forever. 3 days later, Isaac was closing up the garage when 2 figures entered. One was humanoid, but with blue skin and 4 eyes, a Kasari male in expensive clothing. The other was shorter, stockier, with gray skin and tusks, a Dravik. Isaac knew trouble when he saw it. Can I help you? He asked, keeping his voice neutral. The Kasari smiled, showing too many teeth. Isaac Morrison, yes? I am Merchant Corvin Tal. I believe you recently interfered with my business operations. Isaac's mind raced. Corvin, the name the Quillix had mentioned in the alley. The weapons smuggler Vera had been tracking. I do not know what you are talking about, Isaac said carefully. No. A few weeks ago, you prevented a bounty hunter from questioning one of my couriers. That courier subsequently disappeared with a very valuable package. I have been unable to locate him. That is unfortunate, but I do not see what it has to do with me. Corvin's smile never wavered. The bounty hunter was Vera Koth. I understand you two have become quite close. She has also stopped taking certain contracts. High-value contracts. Contracts I offered her. Get to the point, Isaac said, feeling his pulse quicken. The Dravik stepped forward, his hand resting on a weapon at his belt. Corvin waved him back. The point, Mr. Morrison, is that you have cost me considerable profit. First, by interfering with my operations, and second, by domesticating a very profitable asset. I have come to correct this situation. How? I have planted evidence in your garage. Illegal weapons components, black market technology, contraband from 3 restricted worlds. Security forces will find it when they raid this location tomorrow morning. You will be arrested, tried, and likely spend the next 20 years in a penal colony. Isaac's blood ran cold. You are bluffing. Am I? Check your storage room. 3rd shelf, behind the Centauri parts. I will wait. Isaac wanted to refuse, but something in Corvin's eyes told him this was not a bluff. He walked to the storage room, his prosthetic leg feeling heavier with each step. He found the shelf, moved the Centauri components aside, and stared at the case he had never seen before. He opened it. Inside were weapons components he recognized from his military days. Illegal on Earth, valuable on the black market, and absolutely enough to send him to prison for decades. He returned to the main garage. Corvin's smile had grown wider. I see you found my gift. Now here is my offer. You convince Vera to return to work for me, taking the contracts I assign, no questions asked, or tomorrow morning you are arrested. She refuses. You rot in prison. Simple. She will never agree to that. Then you better be very persuasive. Corvin turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mr. Morrison, if you try to remove the evidence or run, I will know. I have sensors in that case. The moment it moves, I make a call and you are arrested immediately. You have until tomorrow at noon to deliver your answer. They left. Isaac stood alone in his garage, his hands shaking, his mind racing through options and finding no good ones. Vera arrived 20 minutes later. She took one look at Isaac's face and was at his side immediately. What happened? Isaac told her everything. The weapons, the blackmail, the impossible choice. Vera's expression grew darker with every word. Corvin, she spat the name like a curse. I have heard of him. He runs weapons to conflict zones, makes billions off suffering. I almost took a contract from him once, but refused when I learned what he was trafficking. What do we do? Isaac asked, and hated how helpless he sounded. Vera paced, her movements agitated. I can leave. Take contracts far from here. He will have no leverage. And I go to prison. No, I will not let that happen. She stopped, her hands clenched into fists. I will go back. Work for him. Keep you safe. Vera, no. That is exactly what he wants. He will have you killing people again, doing terrible things. You will lose yourself. But you will be safe. At what cost? Isaac stood and walked to her, looking up at the woman who had somehow become the most important person in his life. Listen to me. For 7 years I've been half-living, going through motions, pretending my scars do not define me while letting them control everything. You changed that. You showed me that broken things can still be whole if they accept all their parts. Isaac. No, let me finish. You spent 55 years proving you are not weak by being violent. You finally broke that cycle, found something else. Someone else. If you go back to Corvin, you lose that. You lose you. And I would rather rot in a cell knowing you are free than be free knowing you are imprisoned by violence again. Vera's eyes filled with golden tears. How can you ask me to let you suffer? Because that is what love does. It protects not just the body but the soul. And your soul dies if you go back to being what he wants. Isaac took her massive hands in his smaller ones. We will find another way. Together. But not by sacrificing who you have become. Vera pulled him close and she was shaking. I do not know if I am strong enough to make that choice. You are. You have always been strong enough. That is what terrifies people like Corvin. You are proof that compassion and strength can coexist. They stood together in the garage, holding each other while the weight of tomorrow pressed down on them. Outside, New Anchorage lived its life, oblivious to the crisis unfolding in one small repair shop. Isaac's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. Tick-tock, Mr. Morrison. Noon tomorrow. Choose wisely. Isaac showed Vera the message. She read it, and something in her expression shifted. The vulnerability faded, replaced by something harder, more dangerous. "I have an idea," she said quietly, "but it is risky." "How risky?" "The kind that might get us both killed, or arrested, or both." Isaac smiled despite everything. "Well, I already stood up to a Thalran warrior in an alley. Might as well go for broke." Vera's smile was sharp and feral. "Then we should make some calls. Do you know any good lawyers?" "My sister. She is a legal advocate. Handles interspecies law cases. Call her, and then call Devon. We are going to need help." Isaac made the calls. Keiko, his sister, answered on the second ring. They had not spoken in 5 years. Not since she moved to Seattle, after telling Isaac he needed to stop wallowing in self-pity and get therapy. The conversation was tense at first. But when Isaac explained the situation, her voice shifted to pure professional focus. "Do not touch the evidence. Do not let anyone else touch it either. I am calling in a favor with the NAPD. Give me 4 hours." Devon arrived 30 minutes later, his eyes wide with excitement and terror. "Boss, I came as fast as I could. What is going on?" Isaac explained. Devon listened, his expression cycling through shock, anger, and determination. "So we are taking down a weapons smuggler. We are gathering evidence and letting the authorities handle it," Vera corrected. "I am trained for infiltration. Isaac will coordinate with his sister. You will be our communications hub." "This is the coolest and scariest thing that has ever happened to me," Devon said. "Welcome to adulthood," Isaac replied. "It does not get better." They worked through the night. Vera used her contacts in the bounty hunter network to gather information on Corvin's operations. Keiko arrived from Seattle on an early morning transport, all business in her sharp suit and sharper expression. She barely acknowledged Isaac before diving into the legal complexities. By dawn, they had a plan. It was terrible, risky, and had about 1,000 ways to fail. But it was all they had. At 11:30 a.m., Isaac walked into the meeting place Corvin had designated, a warehouse near the docks, empty except for Corvin, his Dravik enforcer, and 2 other armed guards. "Mr. Morrison," Corvin said pleasantly. "I assume you have Vera's agreement?" "No," Isaac said. "I have a better offer." Corvin's smile faded. "You are not in a position to negotiate." "Actually, I am. See, you made a mistake. You assumed we would just accept your blackmail. But what you did not account for is that Vera has friends, dangerous friends. People who know exactly who you are and what you do. Empty threats. Are they? Because right now, the New Anchorage Police Department is executing a warrant on your primary warehouse. They are finding weapons caches, trafficking records, and communications linking you to 17 different crimes, including the attempted blackmail of a decorated veteran. Corvin's expression went very still. "You are lying." "Am I?" Isaac pulled out his phone and showed him a live video feed. Keiko had set it up. The screen showed police in tactical gear swarming a warehouse, hauling out crates of illegal weapons. "My sister is a very good lawyer, and it turns out you were not as careful covering your tracks as you thought." The Dravik moved toward Isaac, but a sound from the warehouse rafters stopped him. Vera dropped down, landing with a crash that shook the floor. She was in full combat gear, her exoskeleton armor gleaming, and her eyes were cold gold fire. "I would not," she said softly. Corvin looked between Isaac, Vera, and his rapidly crumbling operation. His face twisted with rage. "You think this changes anything? I have lawyers. Connections. I will be out in days." "Maybe," Keiko said, walking in from the warehouse entrance with 3 police officers behind her. "But you will be out on the other side of the galaxy. The Trade Alliance has laws against weapons trafficking to conflict zones. You just violated 17 of them. Extradition is immediate." Corvin's face went pale. "You cannot do this." "We just did," Isaac said. "And for the record, next time you want to threaten someone, maybe do not pick the guy with a sister in interspecies law and a girlfriend who knows everyone in the criminal underground." The police moved in. Corvin and his people were arrested and hauled away. The evidence in Isaac's garage was confiscated and catalogued as part of the investigation against Corvin. When it was over, Isaac, Vera, Keiko, and Devon stood outside the warehouse as the sun set over New Anchorage. "That was the most terrifying thing I have ever done," Devon said. "You did good, kid," Isaac replied. Keiko looked at Vera, really looked at her for the first time. "So you are the one who got my brother to stop moping." "I am not sure I would phrase it that way," Vera said carefully. "Well, however you did it, thank you. I have been trying for years." Keiko turned to Isaac. "You look good, healthier, like you finally figured out how to live with everything." "Working on it," Isaac admitted. "Every day." Keiko smiled, and for the first time in 5 years, it reached her eyes. "Good. Now introduce me properly to your girlfriend, who is terrifying and apparently wonderful." They had dinner together that night, all 4 of them, at a restaurant that specialized in food from 12 different species. They laughed and told stories, and Isaac realized something profound. He was happy. Not pretending to be happy, not going through motions of happiness. Actually, genuinely happy. Later, in the quiet of Vera's apartment, she and Isaac lay together. She was careful of her weight, always conscious of her strength, but Isaac pulled her closer. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not letting me go back to what I was. Thank you for showing me that scars do not define value, that broken things can still be whole." She kissed him, soft and careful, and full of a tenderness that belied her warrior frame. When they pulled apart, she smiled. "I think we might actually be okay." "Yeah," Isaac agreed. "I think we might." But in the back of his mind, he knew Corvin had connections, dangerous ones. And people like that did not forget. The peace they had won was fragile. And in a city where humans and aliens mixed, where the law was still figuring out how to handle interspecies crime, fragile things broke easily. But for tonight, they had each other. And that was enough. 6 days after Corvin's arrest, Isaac was working on a transport engine when Keiko called. Her voice was tight, professional, and worried. "We have a problem. Corvin made bail." Isaac's blood went cold. "How? You said he was facing extradition." "He has better lawyers than I anticipated. They found a technicality in the evidence chain. He is out pending trial, and his arraignment is not for another 3 weeks. Keiko, he threatened me. He will come after us. I know, I am filing for a restraining order, but that is just paper. Be careful, Isaac. Watch your back." Isaac hung up and immediately called Vera. She answered on the first ring. "He is out," Isaac said without preamble. Vera was silent for 3 seconds. Then, "Where are you?" "The garage." "Stay there. I am coming." She arrived 15 minutes later, moving fast. Devon was with Isaac working on inventory, and he looked up when Vera entered. "What is wrong?" the kid asked, picking up on the tension immediately. "Corvin made bail," Isaac explained. "He might come after us." "Then we go to the police," Devon said, "and tell them what? That we are scared. They cannot do anything until he actually does something." Vera's expression was hard. "I know how people like Corvin operate. He will not come himself. He will hire someone disposable." "So what do we do?" Isaac asked. "We wait, and we prepare." Vera looked around the garage. "Devon, go home. Tell your parents you are staying with a friend for a few days. Do not come back here until I say it is safe." "But, Devon," Vera's voice was gentle but firm, "you are brave and clever, but you are also 19 and untrained. If something happens, you will be a liability. The best way you can help is by being safe." Devon looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Vera's expression stopped him. He nodded reluctantly and gathered his things. After he left, Isaac locked the garage and they went upstairs to Vera's apartment. She immediately began checking weapons, calibrating her armor, moving with the efficient precision of someone preparing for combat. Isaac watched her, his stomach tight with anxiety. "Vera, maybe you should leave. Get out of the city. I can handle—" "No." She did not look up from her work. "We are not having this conversation again. I am not leaving you to face this alone. But if something happens to you, then something happens. But I would rather die fighting beside you than live knowing I abandoned you." She finally looked at him, her golden eyes fierce. "You are not half a man, Isaac Morrison, and I am not the monster my people said I was. We face this together." Isaac wanted to argue, wanted to protect her the way she was trying to protect him, but he knew that look. Vera had made her decision, and nothing would change her mind. They did not sleep that night. Vera kept watch while Isaac tried to rest, but every sound made him tense. Around 3 a.m., he gave up and joined her at the window overlooking the street. "I am scared," he admitted quietly. "Good. Fear means you are paying attention." She glanced at him. "Remember what you told me in that alley. Being brave is not about not being scared. It is about being scared and acting anyway. I did say that, did not I?" "You did, and you were right." She took his hand, dwarfing it with her own. "Whatever happens tomorrow, we face it together. And no matter what, I need you to know something." "What?" "You changed my life. For 89 years, I believed I was fundamentally flawed, that compassion was weakness. You showed me that mercy and strength can coexist, that being gentle does not mean being fragile." She squeezed his hand carefully. "Even if tomorrow goes badly, you gave me something I have never had before." "What is that?" "Hope that I can be good and strong at the same time." Isaac felt tears prick his eyes. "You gave me something too. You reminded me that scars are just proof you survived something, that being broken does not mean being worthless." They sat together as dawn broke over New Anchorage, two people who had found wholeness in each other's brokenness. The attack came at noon. Isaac was in the garage, trying to work despite the tension, when the front door exploded inward. 3 figures entered, all armed, all moving with military precision. Mercenaries, Isaac realized. Expensive ones. The lead figure, a Krell with reptilian features, aimed a weapon at Isaac. "You Isaac Morrison?" "Depends on who is asking." "Someone who paid us to deliver a message." The Krell's smile showed rows of sharp teeth. "Message is, you should not have interfered." The weapon charged. Isaac dove behind a workbench as the first shot scorched the air where he had been standing. His prosthetic leg buckled on impact, and pain flared up his residual limb. Then Vera was there. She dropped from the rafters where she had been waiting, her armored form slamming into the Krell with enough force to crack the concrete floor. The Merc went down hard, weapons skittering across the garage. The other 2 Mercs opened fire. Vera activated her gravity manipulation, her body's density increasing. The energy shots hit her armor and deflected harmlessly. She was a living tank, unstoppable and terrifying. She moved through the garage like a force of nature. One Merc tried to flank her. She grabbed him by the arm and threw him through the wall into the alley. The third pulled a blade and went for Isaac. Vera was faster. She intercepted, caught the blade bare-handed, and twisted it out of the Merc's grip. Then, instead of killing him as Isaac expected, she simply stopped, held him there. One massive hand around his throat, squeezing just enough to cut off air but not crush. "You have a choice," Vera said, her voice deadly calm. "You can walk away and tell Corvin this failed, or you can keep fighting and I will put you in the hospital for 6 months. Choose." The Merc's eyes were wide with terror. He managed a strangled nod. Vera released him and he scrambled for the door, dragging his unconscious partner with him. The third Merc was already gone, having fled through the hole in the wall. When they were alone, Vera turned to Isaac. Her armor was scorched, but intact. "Are you hurt?" "No, just shaken." Isaac pulled himself up using the workbench, his prosthetic protesting. "You did not kill them." "No, I did not need to." Vera deactivated her armor's combat mode, her posture softening slightly. 6 months ago I would not have hesitated, but you taught me that strength does not require death, just the capacity for it. Isaac looked at the destroyed garage door, the scorch marks on his equipment, the hole in the wall. He is not going to stop. Corvin. He will keep sending people until we are dead, or he is. I know. Vera walked to him, her movements careful despite the adrenaline still coursing through her. Which is why we are not waiting for the next attack. We are ending this tonight. How? By doing what I do best, hunting. Her smile was sharp. But this time I am hunting for justice, not profit. There is a difference. Isaac wanted to argue, wanted to find a safer way, but he knew Vera was right. They could not keep playing defense forever. Eventually, Corvin would send someone they could not stop. They spent the afternoon planning. Keiko arrived with Devon in tow despite Vera's protests. His sister took one look at the destroyed garage and her expression hardened into something Isaac recognized from their childhood. Keiko, in protective mode, was terrifying in her own right. I pulled Corvin's travel records, she said, spreading files across Isaac's workbench. He has a private estate outside the city. Security is tight, but not impossible. The problem is legal jurisdiction. If you go there and confront him, it could be construed as assault. What if we do not confront him? Vera said thoughtfully. What if we gather evidence of his operation? Proof that ties him directly to today's attack? That would work. But you would need to access his personal files, his communications. That requires getting inside his security. Vera smiled. I have gotten into more secure locations than a crime lord's estate. Isaac, I need you to build me something. A data extraction device, small enough to hide, powerful enough to crack his system. That is illegal, Isaac pointed out. So is hiring mercenaries to kill someone, Devon interjected. I say we do it. Keiko looked at the kid, then at Isaac, then at Vera. Finally, she sighed. If I am going to be disbarred, at least let it be for something worthwhile. I am in. But we do this smart. No unnecessary risks. They worked into the evening. Isaac built the extraction device using components from his shop, his hands steady despite the enormousness of what they were planning. Vera studied schematics of Corvin's estate that Devon pulled from public records. Keiko prepared legal contingencies in case everything went sideways. At midnight, they were ready. Vera wore her armor but kept it in stealth mode, the plating dark and non-reflective. Isaac insisted on coming despite Vera's objections. You need someone to operate the extraction device, he argued. And before you say you can do it, remember that I actually built the thing. I know how it works. Isaac, if something goes wrong, then something goes wrong. But I am not letting you face this alone. We are partners, remember? Vera looked like she wanted to argue, but instead she pulled him close and kissed him hard. If you die because of your stubbornness, I will find a way to bring you back just so I can kill you myself. Noted. They left Devon and Keiko at a safe distance with communications equipment. The drive to Corvin's estate took 40 minutes, through the outskirts of New Anchorage, where the city gave way to wilderness. The estate sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean, all glass and metal and ostentatious wealth built on suffering. Vera disabled the perimeter sensors with practiced ease. They approached from the south, using the terrain for cover. Isaac's prosthetic made the climb difficult, but he pushed through the pain. This was bigger than his physical limitations. They reached the main building. Vera used her strength to pry open a service entrance, the metal screaming softly before giving way. Inside, the estate was quiet, dimly lit by emergency lighting. Security office should be on the second floor, Vera whispered. That is where his private server will be. They moved through the building like ghosts. Every sound felt amplified, every shadow a potential threat. Isaac's heart hammered, but he kept moving, fear and courage walking hand in hand. They found the security office exactly where the schematics indicated. Vera stood guard while Isaac connected his device to Corvin's server. The extraction began immediately, pulling files, communications, financial records. "How long?" Vera asked. 3 minutes, maybe 4. "We might not have 4. She was right. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, multiple sets moving fast. Corvin's personal security had found them. "Keep working," Vera said, positioning herself between Isaac and the door. "I will handle this." The door burst open. 4 guards entered, all armed, all trained. They saw Vera and hesitated for just a moment, recognizing what she was. That moment cost them. Vera moved with brutal efficiency. She had spent 55 years perfecting violence, and even choosing mercy did not mean she had forgotten how to fight. She disarmed the first guard with a strike that shattered his weapon. The second got a palm strike to the chest that sent him flying backward. The third and fourth tried to coordinate their attack, but Vera activated her gravity manipulation, her density increasing until she was an immovable object. Their attacks bounced off her armor harmlessly. She grabbed both of them and slammed them together hard enough to knock them unconscious. "Done," Isaac said, pulling the extraction device free. "I have everything." They ran. More guards were coming, alarms blaring throughout the estate. Vera led the way, her armor's strength allowing her to simply crash through obstacles rather than navigate around them. Isaac followed, his prosthetic screaming in protest but holding. They burst out of the estate and into the night. Vera's vehicle was where they left it, hidden in the tree line. They jumped in and Vera drove like she was being chased by death itself. Behind them, lights filled the estate as Corvin's security mobilized. But they were already gone, disappearing into the night. Back at their safe location, Isaac connected the extraction device to Keiko's laptop. She scrolled through the files, her expression growing darker with each passing minute. "This is it," she said finally. "Everything we need. Communications with the mercenaries, including today's attack. Financial records showing payments for illegal weapons. Connections to 17 different criminal organizations." She looked up, and her eyes were fierce. "This is enough to put him away for life. Multiple life sentences, actually." "Then we take it to the authorities," Isaac said. "Already done. I sent copies to the NAPD, the Trade Alliance Security Council, and 3 different oversight agencies. Even if he has corrupt officials in his pocket, he cannot buy all of them." Keiko smiled. "Corvin is finished." Devon whooped with excitement. Vera sat down heavily, the adrenaline finally fading. Isaac joined her, and they held hands in exhausted relief. "We did it," Isaac said. "We did," Vera agreed. "Together." The arrests came at dawn. Isaac and Vera watched from a distance as police swarmed Corvin's estate. This time, there would be no bail, no technicalities. The evidence was overwhelming and irrefutable. Corvin himself was dragged out in restraints, his face twisted with rage. When he saw Vera standing in the distance, recognition flashed across his features. He screamed something that was lost in the chaos, but the meaning was clear enough. "He looks angry," Isaac observed. "He should be. He underestimated what happens when someone damaged finds something worth protecting." Vera squeezed Isaac's hand. "He thought we were broken things he could manipulate. He did not realize broken things can still fight back." Over the following days, the legal process ground forward with surprising speed. Keiko had done her work well. The evidence was airtight, the charges severe. Corvin was facing extradition to 3 different worlds, each with competing claims on his prosecution. Isaac's garage became something of a local landmark. News of the takedown spread through New Anchorage's interspecies community, and suddenly, Morrison's garage was the place where a disabled human veteran and an exiled alien warrior had stood up to corruption. Business actually improved. Clients who had been nervous about bringing their vehicles to a human-owned shop started showing up. Isaac hired 2 more mechanics to handle the increased work. Devin got a scholarship to the new Anchorage Technical Institute based on his role in the operation. The kid was thrilled, though he promised to still help at the garage on weekends. Keiko returned to Seattle, but stayed in regular contact. She and Vera had formed an unlikely friendship based on their shared protectiveness of Isaac. He found it both touching and slightly terrifying. 3 weeks after Corvin's arrest, Isaac was closing up the garage when he found Vera sitting on the roof, staring at the ocean. He climbed up carefully, his prosthetic making the ascent awkward but manageable. "Thinking?" he asked, sitting beside her, reflecting. She looked at him, her golden eyes soft in the evening light. "I received another message from the Thalrin Enclave today." Isaac tensed. Bad news? Strange news. A young Thalrin, recently exiled for showing compassion during a territorial dispute, asked if she could meet me. She heard about what I have been doing here, about choosing protection over destruction. She wants to know if it is possible to live without shame. What did you tell her? That it is hard, painful, that some days I still hear my culture's voice telling me I am weak, but that I have found something here worth more than their approval. She took Isaac's hand. I found myself. The person I was always meant to be before they tried to break her. Isaac felt warmth spread through his chest. Are you going to meet her? Yes. I thought I might help her find work. Legitimate protection contracts, not hunt and kill jobs. Build something different. She paused. There are others like her, like me. Thalrin who were exiled for refusing to be monsters. Maybe we could create a network, prove that strength and compassion are not opposites. That sounds like something worth building. They sat together as the sun set over New Anchorage, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The city below them hummed with life, human and alien voices mixing in the complex harmony of a shared world. Isaac, Vera said quietly, do you ever regret it? That night in the alley when you told me to step back. Your life would be simpler if you had just walked away. Isaac thought about it, really thought about it. The danger, the fear, the destroyed garage door he still needed to replace. The sleepless nights and the constant awareness that loving someone meant making yourself vulnerable. Then he thought about Vera's smile. The way she moved carefully around his shop, conscious of her strength. The golden tears she shed when she finally allowed herself to feel. The fierce protectiveness in her eyes when she looked at him. No, he said simply. I do not regret it, because walking away would have been safe. But safe is not the same as whole, and you made me whole again. Vera pulled him close, and they sat together under the darkening sky. 6 months later, Morrison's garage had expanded. Isaac hired 4 full-time mechanics and moved the business to a larger location with actual security systems and a reinforced door. The old garage became a community center, a place where recently arrived aliens could get help navigating New Anchorage's complex interspecies regulations. Vera ran it with surprising gentleness. She had formed a network of exiled Thalrin who, like her, had been cast out for showing compassion. They called themselves Kothram, which roughly translated to strong hearts. It was a deliberate reclamation of the slur that had defined them. Together, they took protection contracts, security work, anything that used their considerable strength for good rather than destruction. Word spread. Soon, other species outcasts were reaching out, asking if there was room in the network for them. Isaac watched it grow with pride and amazement. The woman who had once believed mercy was weakness was now building an empire of compassion backed by strength. His relationship with Keiko had healed completely. She visited monthly, and she and Vera had formed a friendship that involved a lot of teasing Isaac and comparing notes on his stubborn tendencies. Devin graduated top of his class and immediately came back to work at the garage. The institute is great, he said, but I learned more from you two than any classroom could teach. One evening, after closing the new garage, Isaac came home to find Vera in their shared apartment, staring at something in her hands. It was a letter, physical paper rather than digital, marked with Thalrin script. "What is it?" Isaac asked. "Official communication from Thalrin." Her voice was tight. "They want to revoke my exile. The Enclave's leadership has changed. New generation. They have been watching what I built here, and they are calling it evidence that compassion and strength can coexist." Isaac felt his heart leap. "Vera, that is amazing. You can go home." But Vera was not smiling. She set the letter down carefully. "They are offering to restore my status, full citizen rights, erasing the Koth designation from my record. That is what you wanted, is it not?" "I thought it was. For 55 years, I believed getting that validation would heal the wound they left." She looked at him, her golden eyes wet with tears. "But reading this letter, all I felt was anger, because they do not get to decide if I am worthy. They exiled a child for showing mercy, and now they want to take credit for her success." Isaac sat beside her. "So what do you want?" "I want to stay here, build something that proves they were wrong, not for their validation, but because it is right." She took his hand. "I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to help Devon learn engineering. I want to welcome more outcasts and show them they are not broken. I want a life that is mine, not theirs." "Then that is what you will do." Vera smiled through her tears. "I sent my response already. Told them they could keep their approval, that I found something better than their validation. I found a home." Isaac pulled her close, this massive warrior woman who had learned that the greatest courage was vulnerability. "I am proud of you. I am proud of us. We took our broken pieces and built something whole." They sat together in comfortable silence, two people who had learned that wholeness did not mean perfection. It meant accepting all the parts, scars included, and choosing to live fully anyway. Time passed. The seasons changed. New Anchorage continued its evolution into something unprecedented, a city where dozens of species built lives together despite their differences. Isaac's prosthetic needed replacing after 2 years. The new model was more advanced, more comfortable, but he found he did not hate it the way he used to. It was just part of him now, not a symbol of loss, but evidence of survival. Vera never returned to Thalrin. Other members of Kothram did, carrying the message that there were different ways to be strong. The cultural shift was slow, generational, but it was happening. 1 year after the letter, Isaac woke to find Vera already awake, sitting by the window and watching the sunrise. He joined her, and they sat together as light filled the sky. "Do you remember what you said to me that first night?" Vera asked. "In the alley?" "I said I was not stepping back." "You said being brave is not about not being scared. It is about being scared and doing the right thing anyway." She turned to him. "You changed my entire understanding of courage with those words. You changed mine too. You showed me that broken things can still be valuable, that scars are just proof you survived." "We survived," Vera corrected. "Together." They sat in the growing light. Two people who had found wholeness in each other's brokenness, who had learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it, who had discovered that strength without compassion was just violence, but compassion backed by strength could change worlds. Later that day, a young human veteran came to the community center. She had lost both legs in a transport accident and was struggling with the transition to prosthetics. She looked lost, broken, like she did not know how to exist in a body that no longer felt like hers. Isaac sat with her and told her his story, about Tangiers, about the explosion, about the years he spent believing he was half a man, about meeting someone who taught him that wholeness came from acceptance, not perfection. The veteran listened, and when he finished, she was crying. "Does it get easier?" "Some days," Isaac said honestly. "Other days it is hard. But I learned something important. Your body changed, but you are still you. And you get to decide what that means. Not your injuries, not other people's pity. You. She nodded slowly. How do I start? By accepting that this is your reality now. Not fighting it, not pretending it did not happen. Just accepting it, and then deciding how you want to live within that reality. Vera joined them, her massive frame somehow not intimidating in this moment. I was exiled from my homeworld for showing compassion, she said, told I was fundamentally flawed. I spent decades trying to prove them wrong by being violent. But the truth is, they were wrong from the start. Compassion was not my flaw. It was my strength. And the scars they left taught me something valuable. What? The veteran asked. That the people who try to break you do not get to define you. Only you do. And you get to decide if your scars are marks of shame or badges of survival. The veteran looked between them, this unlikely pair who had found each other in the mess of interspecies integration. Thank you, she said quietly, for showing me it is possible. After she left, Isaac and Vera stood together in the community center they had built from nothing. Around them were resources for newcomers, job boards for outcasts, and evidence of dozens of lives changed by the simple act of showing up and caring. We did something good here, Isaac said. We did something right, Vera corrected. There is a difference. That evening, they returned to their apartment. They made dinner together, Vera carefully measuring her strength while chopping vegetables, Isaac moving around the kitchen with practiced ease despite his prosthetic. They ate on their small balcony, watching New Anchorage come alive with lights as darkness fell. Isaac, Vera said suddenly, if you could go back to that night in the alley, knowing everything that would happen afterward, would you still step forward? Isaac did not hesitate. Yes, every single time. Even knowing the danger, the attacks, the fear? Especially because of those things. Because they led here, to this moment, to you, to a life that feels whole even though I am technically missing a leg and you are exiled from your homeworld. He smiled. Wholeness is not about having all the pieces. It is about accepting the pieces you have and building something beautiful anyway. Vera's eyes filled with golden tears. I love you, Isaac Morrison. My brave, stubborn, wonderful human. I love you too, Vera Koth. My strong, compassionate, beautiful alien warrior. They held each other as the city lights twinkled below. Two broken people who had learned the most important lesson. Healing does not mean erasing scars. It means accepting them, honoring them, and choosing to live fully despite them. And in the distance, somewhere in the city, another lost soul was finding their way to the community center. Another person who needed to hear that broken things could be whole, that scars were proof of survival, that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act anyway. The work was never finished, but it was always worth doing. And Isaac and Vera would be there together, showing everyone who needed to see it, that strength and compassion were not opposites. They were partners, just like the two of them, forever changing the definition of what it meant to be whole. So what did Isaac Morrison and Vera Koth teach us about courage, about strength, about what it means to be whole in a world that tells us we are broken? They taught us that bravery is not fearlessness. It is feeling the fear, acknowledging it, and choosing to act anyway because something matters more than your safety. They taught us that physical strength means nothing without the courage to be gentle, that compassion is not weakness, but the highest form of power. They taught us that our scars, whether physical or emotional, do not define our worth. They are simply evidence that we survived something difficult and chose to keep living. Most importantly, they taught us that wholeness is not about perfection. It is about accepting all the parts of ourselves, even the broken ones, and building a life that honors both our wounds and our healing. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to choose courage when every instinct told you to run? Have you ever met someone who changed your entire understanding of strength? And if you have scars, physical or otherwise, have you learned to see them as proof of survival rather than marks of shame? Write the word courage in the comments below if this story resonated with you. Let me know where you are watching from, what part of the world you call home. Hit that like button if you believe broken things can still be whole. Subscribe if you want more stories that remind you that your scars do not define you, your choices do. Ring that notification bell so you never miss a story that might change how you see yourself. Share this with someone who needs to hear that courage is not about being unafraid. And click on the next video, because these stories matter, and your presence here matters too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are not half of anything. You are whole, scars and all, choosing every day to be brave in a world that often rewards fear. Stay strong, stay compassionate, and keep showing up for the people who need to see that it is possible.